Brought to you by...
Hello friends, and happy holidays from ETF. This year has been a slow one for our content here on the channel. A lot of changes in the world and within our lives have begun to affect our production, and slow down what we have been able to do for the last few months. And for that, I do apologize. I miss you all dearly. And I cannot wait to get back to a regular, consistent, and frequent release schedule. We are trying to get ourselves back on track for next year, but in the meantime, I couldn't let Christmas go by without doing something for the season, and to close out another year here with all of you. Can you believe that we are about to start our 5th year making these videos? I know, it's crazy, right? But I couldn't have asked for better viewers and better friends to have spent all of this time with. This year, I decided to follow the spirit of the season and take a look at a newer film that didn't get a ton of praise when it first released, but has already started to gain a little notice, as I have heard many people talking about it in the year since. When you think the suburbs, you think safety. But on this holiday night, the suburbs are anything but safe. Ashley just thought a babysitting job was going to be an easy night. But the night takes a turn when dangerous intruders break in and terrorize her and the 12-year-old boy, Luke, she's caring for. Ashley defends her charge to the best of her ability, only to discover that this is no normal home invasion. Fuck! We open on the smiling face of a snowman, moments before it is smashed in by a bully's baseball bat. The idea within these opening moments is to set up the quaint, average suburban neighborhood that is about to fall into a small form of chaos. Our parents here are played by familiar faces: Patrick Warburton, who most will know from his role as Putty in Seinfeld, or the voice of Joe in Family Guy, and Virginia Madsen, who was infamous for her role as Helen in Candyman. Most of the rest of the cast are relative unknowns, although we get a surprise cameo from Dacre Montegre? I honestly don't know if I said that right, I apologize, of Stranger Things fame as Ashley's douchey ex-boyfriend. The dynamic of this film obviously doesn't quite land for me, due to the fact that this kid is far too old to need a babysitter, who is basically only a couple of years older than he is. The idea is that we are supposed to believe he is just mature for his age, and has had a crush on his babysitter for a long time, so he stupidly has a plan to hopefully score with her. The visual look of the film is your standard modern presentation with an overly saturated color palette, in your run-of-the-mill, well-to-do suburban home. The vibrancy of the color palette allows for the filmmakers to utilize some fun, overly 80s style lighting choices at times. The film is definitely meant to deliver on a wildly dark comedy tone, which becomes highly evident once the boyfriend shows up. But why do all these fucking houses in Christmas movies have giant fucking standing attic spaces like in Black Christmas? Probably because it just looks cool, or maybe to pay homage to that film. The majority of this film plays out like your standard Yuletide home invasion, but aims to be a darker, more modern Home Alone. The filmmakers do some nice subtle things with background action, like when they are watching a movie and we see a silhouette appear at the window. They made the choice to keep the intruders a complete fucking mystery in order to pull off its mid-runtime plot twist, which completely fucking shifts the dynamic of this movie into a twisted, almost torture porn scenario. Which, from here on out, we're getting into heavy spoiler territory, so this is your warning. The scariest part of this movie is the idea that kids growing up under a dysfunctional parental dynamic like the kid does here could develop into being as fucked up as these kids are revealed to be. I do like the dynamic that starts to build after the reveal between Luke and Garrett, where Luke is clearly the true psychopath here, and Garrett is just his lackey. It's a similar dynamic to Billy and Stu in Scream. However, I found it unbelievably ridiculous that this girl acts so fucking unruly in the face of a couple of clearly deranged and unstable kids who are pointing a gun in her face. I loved the reenactment of the Home Alone paint can sequence, clearly paying homage to that film, and resulting in a brutal as fuck splatter of blood and bright yellow paint. The real brutality of the moment is kept to a minimum, never letting us see the aftermath of the impact. We spend the rest of the film avoiding the body in clever ways, keeping his mangled face obscured perfectly. I have to admit that this film spirals gradually into some wildly whimsical and fucked up places that I definitely didn't expect it to go. Honestly, in both concept and execution, these filmmakers took us on a highly entertaining, fun, and thrilling ride that I think horror fans of all kinds will love around the holidays. Just when you thought it had all been done, we were brought this. I'm giving Better Watch Out a solid B+. I personally enjoyed this one for everything that it was. I do find myself wondering whether or not the film would have been cooler if the plot hadn't twisted so dramatically and we had stuck with a more straightforward home invasion thriller. But I like that they took a chance to do something more extreme with this narrative. I think that fans of Yuletide Terror will have a blast with this one, especially if you go into these things for the twists and turns. But that is going to be all for this one, friends. Stay safe this holiday season, Merry Christmas, and I will see you all again in 2022.